are ready, and this is not going to be a quiet panel, so I hope y'all are excited. My name is Maggie Malik. I'm the CEO of Crispin. We are here day 2 at Cannes. This is a friendly reminder and a targeted ad for one of you who needs to remember to put sunscreen on, who forgot yesterday. I don't know where they are. We are super excited to talk about this. We've all had some really good conversations over the past several days on stage just about the new influencer and creator ecosystem. And I think one thing I've loved about talking to all of these folks that we hope you take away today is that athletes are humans and they contain multitudes. We are all, not all one thing. That's been really exciting for me. So the first question I have that I'm just going to ask everybody, and I'm going to move so I can see everybody, is we'll start with Tom. What does disruptive storytelling mean to each of you? We'll start with Tom.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to thank Stagwell for hosting this and say it's an honor to be here, a bit of a thrill for me, growing up in Chicago and New York with a player like Joakim and living in LA. My son's a big fan of UCLA and what you're doing over there, Lauren, and we have a ton of spices in our house. I would say it's pretty simple. For me, I think when you it begins with the idea, and when a brand has an idea or a concept and can find a match in a creator that brings an authentic reason to be in that concept. You see a lot of examples of creators that may be involved in something maybe more for views and whatnot, and I think when there's a natural match, often that can lead to the most disruptive storytelling.
Love that.
Yeah, thanks for having me, first of all, Stagwell. Disruptive storytelling. I want my storytelling to not be disruptive at all, to be honest. I think for me it's about connecting with people. I've been traveling the world with the NBA and with the Bulls, and for me it's about connecting in a way that's organic, in a way where people feel comfortable, and I wouldn't call that disruptive, but that's what I do.
No, I love that. I think that's a language you guys all definitely speak. Tabitha, do you have a different definition of disruptive storytelling?
I'll build on the comment about connecting. Disruptive storytelling, to me, is all about resonance. It's about really finding that way to tell your story in a way that it sparks action, that it really drives engagement. If you think about the McCormick brands, Frank's Red Hot, Cholula, people like the recipes. That's how we connect with consumers. And we want them to click on them. We want them to save them. We want them to send them to a friend. We want them to write, hey, I want to try this. I can't wait to make this. And that's the engagement that really I value a lot. And sometimes I'd rather have 50,000 engagements that 100,000 eyeballs looking at the content, because that's going to drive action.
Lauren, over to you.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't really know what disruptive storytelling is. I mean, I think in the space that I'm in as a college athlete still, I think I just try to live authentically in my own way, and I think that's something that I strive to do, and I think that it's because of the people I'm surrounded by every single day, but I've just always been raised to, just live authentically in who I am and what I believe in, and I think I try to spread that message to the game that I'm in the space that I obviously have been given and the platform I've been on, but just trying to make the game as safe and as exciting as possible, but obviously doing it in my terms.
No, I love that. And I think one of the things everyone will hear here at Sport Beach is that idea of disruption is a little bit dead. It really is more about connection and authenticity, and when a brand shows up with their whole self and a person shows up with their whole self, that's where magic happens. And so I know we talked a little bit about that backstage. So Joakim, tell me a little bit more about life after basketball and a show that you're working on, and revealing that part of yourself to the world and to brands.
Yeah. So I've been retired for 5 years now, and for me it was, I've been a competitor for my whole life, third generation athlete, and when I retired, I realized I don't want to be this person anymore. It's a divide and conquer kind of mentality that you have to have as a competitor, and sometimes those feelings are it's not always positive. And now I'm in a position right now where we're starting a travel show with NBA Take Two, which I'm really excited about. I have a really cool team who are here, and we went to Morocco. We did a show in Chicago, and for me, I'm just so excited to use this platform. We start, obviously, we can all connect globally through the game of basketball, but digging deeper into culture and meeting people and sharing some really cool stories with people and realizing, like, obviously there's so many differences in culture, but there's also so many similarities.
Oh, I love that. I feel like that's been a really big theme this week is like we all come from different places, but if we could just sit down together, we're a lot more similar than we realize. All right, so Miss Lauren Marie, which I learned your coach calls you when you're in trouble. I think this is a question I really want you to spend a little time on because you have a story to tell, and it's similar to him. It shows that you contain multitudes. So how has revealing that person behind the jersey changed your game as you are currently playing?
Yeah, I think as athletes, there's a lot we all each have our own individual journey, and I think that's not something that we really speak about. And I know for me growing up, I always wanted to have someone to look up to, and I think that's kind of the message that I'm trying to bring and just trying to leave the game in a better place than I found it. So obviously I came out with my ESPN article, talked a little bit about my mental health journey, and that was huge for me. And I think that the support and the messages I've got from people and the reactions to the article really just spoke, words to me. I think it was just huge, and it's the reason why I wanted to do it. I think that I just want to help as many little girls who have been through similar struggles as I have, and I just want them to know that they're loved and that they're safe, and that, behind the athlete, that I'm a real, genuine person as well, and I've dealt with my own things, but that I'm just as human as everybody else. So.
No, I think that's important, and I think that's something that we all need to remember this week at Cannes, where you're seeing like people on stage talking. We are all just people, and we're all a little bit nervous before we walk out, and we all have to talk about these things. But everybody here is rooting for each other, so it's a little bit different than being on a basketball court. Like, everybody here wants us to do awesome, so that's like something I've loved talking to y'all about. So then that's really helpful. So on the brand side, I'll start with you, Tom. Knowing what you know about these humans, these people that are sitting next to you that are so much more than just athletes, how does that show up for Amazon and your partnerships?
Yeah, I think, a few things. It really begins when we're working with creators and athletes in particular. I think like with talking to people and finding out what's going to make the most, engaging story. I think, one example we were talking about, backstage was we've had a campaign running for 3 years for our Off to College campaign called Dorms, where we sort of humorously tore students' 250 square foot dorm rooms. And we've had a number of collegiate athletes in that series. More recently, Angel Reese and Flaujae, and then this past year, Jared McCain from Duke, who's gone on to play with the 76ers. And, in those films, in those videos, it really all begins with the conversations you have with the athletes to find out what are they interested in, what are the quirks that maybe fans don't realize that they're interested in, what are their little idiosyncrasies, and really what's going to make an unscripted series like that feel entertaining. And so that's where I feel like that begins, that journey, so that what that final output you have feels authentic.
Taba, how about from McCormick's?
Yeah, the one thing we try to do, because we have a lot of brands across McCormick, so we try to really understand, what's the authentic love of the brand from the athletes or the creators or influencers we're going to be talking with, right? We want it to be authentic. If you're going to work on Cholula or you're going to work on Frank's Red Hot, I need you to like it because you do, not because we're asking to. So that's the number one filter. The next thing we look at is just as a whole brand fit. What are the values? And I like to interview a lot of the athletes and the creators we work with to really understand what could we do with the brand? What would your vision be, right? Because if we're really partnering, we want to co-create. We don't want to tell you what to do. We want you to tell us what your vision is and what you can bring to the table. So I think those partnerships work very well. And I'll give you an example with Frank's Red Hot. Super Bowl last year, we had an amazing partnership with Jason Kelsey. It was a cultural moment that drove it, and he's very irreverent. This year, we had an amazing partnership with Paris Hilton on the same brand. They're both very different, but they're very irreverent personalities that bring this magic, this ability to pull in people and create and fun. And that's what we want to see. And if I were working with a different brand, I might look for something different because I need that connection to really be authentic.
I love that. Okay, so this is not a question I prepped y'all for, so Joaquim and Lauren, get ready. But both Tabitha and Tom have talked about like fun and quirky. Is there any like fun or quirky fact about either of y'all that maybe we don't know about that like you would like to share? I'll start with you, Joaquim. Or we'll go with Lauren, or you'll kick me off the stage and we'll go back to the other questions that I prepped y'all for.
But, we didn't talk about that in the back. But
Okay, we'll skip
I lose my phone like once a week.
That's
I don't know how I survive without an Apple Watch because I lose my phone all day. This has been a hard week. Lauren, is there any other fun?
So something I actually brought up with my agent that's really funny. I've always wanted to be a DJ for fun. Like that's something that I just want to get into. And it's really silly and I haven't even started or looked into it, but I'm just like, I feel like I would kill it. Like I feel like I'd be a really cool DJ.
Okay, well, Amazon Music.
There you go.
You
There
might
you
know,
go.
We need
you
to
might
see
know
that.
some
Right,
people.
right, yeah.
Okay, and then we'll find a phone sponsor. So this is great. Okay, it's totally put y'all on the spot, but I just thought that was interesting how both on the brand side, y'all talked a little bit more about like that funny connection is important too. Okay, so I'm gonna start with Lauren on this one. And I know this, again, you've said that you're like very new to kind of this brand and business world, which I think is really cool, honestly. And so this could be one that you worked on or one when your co-athletes worked on, teammates, co-athletes. What is a really good example of a time when you have seen a brand and athlete partner together, and why do you think it really worked?
Honestly, I think it's because it was just like super genuine and it was really fun. And I know for me, like having the platform that I do and my teammates in the space that we're in, we're obviously all really on top of our game. But I think like it's the connections that we make amongst the deals and the brands that we're working with. And I think that obviously like with content creation and all of that, I pretty, just having those moments with my teammates and kind of just using all of our personalities to make something really special. I think that's what makes it really authentic and really fun for me.
Awesome. Tabitha?
I'll pass it over, and then you can come back to me.
Okay.
An amazing brand that I partnered with. So let me think. So for me, I'm a proud investor in the NBA Africa League. It was an opportunity that was given to me right when I was done playing. I was just in Soweto yesterday, so it's a real culture shock to go from Soweto. I don't know if you guys know where that is in South Africa, but to go from Soweto to Cannes, it doesn't get more polarizing. And so I'm a proud investor in this league. The league is doing great. I'm really proud of the work that we're doing, and Hennessy is one of the partners of the NBA. So I ended up meeting the people at Hennessy, and a couple years ago, we ended up building 10 courts on the continent. That it was, one of the most amazing things, just being able to travel Africa and meet people, and people were so grateful about, meeting artists who did all the paintings on the playground, but just like a community-driven event that was something that was so special to me. So I'm happy it's over because I gained like 10 pounds and I definitely drank way too much Hennessy. So I don't think it's sustainable that way, but overall I think it was a great opportunity, and now with the travel show coming, I think it's all connected.
So do you have some sponsors that are on both journeys with you that are connected to kind of that whole universe?
Not enough.
Okay.
Not enough.
I will say that's something that it's really interesting to talk about, and on the brand side too, is, I've been in this space for 17 years, and a lot of brands are starting to look for and crave more long-term, authentic partnerships where you can do multiple things together because it helps you both show up. So thanks for that. All right, are you ready yet, or you know Tom next?
No, I wanted to hear a couple of the examples to try to figure out which one would be the most relevant piece. But before I say the partnership, what I really like was what you said about like trying to do good and trying to be different, because that's what we're seeing a lot with the creators we're working with and the athletes and the influencers we're partnering with. They come to the table, and when we tell them, what do you want to do? They tell us, I want to do this for the brand, but I'm also doing this to help the world. I'm also doing this to do this. Can we work with this charity? Can we do this? And I think that's amazing, because as athletes, you all have that community, that followership, that impact on the world, and I think partnering that with the brands can make a big difference. So that's why I wanted to see where this was going. Now, going back to an example of a great partnership, I am going to go back to the Frank's Red Hot. Does that work?
Yeah.
So talking about Frank's and Paris, this year for Super Bowl, just in the US, for those of you that are not as familiar with the Super Bowl, it's a big deal. And just that day, Americans consume $1.4 billion chicken wings, just on one day during Super Bowl, okay? Jeez. And Frank's is a key ingredient on making those chicken wings. The other thing is buffalo chicken dip, which you need half a bottle of Frank's to do, is a staple item for Super Bowl foods. So Frank's is already in the conversation. It happens. People are stocking up. So what do we need to do? We need to bring it into the conversation and make it fun and exciting and part of the culture. So what we did this year is we surrounded the Super Bowl with a partnership with Paris Hilton. And we did that because she brings a lot of flair and a lot of flavor, and so does Frank, and they're both iconic. So we merged the two, and we had an amazing Frank's Red Hot, That's Hot campaign that was really successful, and it really delivered a ton of growth for the brand, but more importantly, it put it there in the conversations. And I think the key thing about it is that she also bedazzled her Frank's Red Hot bottles, and then we gave that to consumers, and we got thousands and tens of thousands of videos of people telling why I love brands, why I love Frank's, why I want to participate in this. And it was just a wonderful moment. And there's going to be maybe more to come as well, because that's a partnership and a really good example where her creativity, her business acumen, her values, and her irreverence and personality really match the brands.
All right, Tom, over to you. Favorite or best partnership?
Yeah, maybe I'll speak to one that's a bit recent. We have, as every year, we have Prime Day, and one of the things that Prime is sort of, the Prime membership is all about is kind of enabling things you're into or getting into. And Prime Day is a deal event, and really, as part of that, connecting you and giving you deals to facilitate those things that you're into or getting into. This past year, as often happens, there was sort of a single idea on a page that was centered around Megan Thee Stallion, and it was really Megan the blank. The person that brought forward the idea, the team, I should say, knew she's into all manner of things, and what if we sort of, what if her name became synonymous with multitudes of things, which begot a partnership and a conversation with her. And really ended up creating an original song and music video called, not surprisingly, It's Prime Day. And it really started with a conversation with her on those things that we're talking about. So for her, we didn't know, but she's very into cosplay. She's a chef. She loves her dog to the degree that her dog has over 500,000 followers. So we started learning all these things in our conversation with Megan, which, it was a fluid conversation, and kind of maybe to the topic of this panel, we, kind of in working with her, she ended up writing the original song for this video, and released the song on the album. And, I think what I would say there is, every partnership is different. In some cases, you end up working collaboratively with a partner in one way, and in other cases, another. And in this case, she just dove right in because she saw in the concept sort of a connection to herself. And I think that's a lot of what we're talking about, of finding those ideas where there's going to be a natural match, and the creator that you're working with feels like they have a natural sort of on-ramp to the idea.
Do you get jiggy to Prime Day, Megan Thee Stallion?
Say it again?
Do you get jiggy to the song?
We got a lot of things.
Well, that is another unplanned moment that I love. So I want to congratulate everyone on this panel for staying on time and on topic. So now I get to ask you 8 minutes of questions that we didn't prep for because everyone has followed directions and been succinct. So one of the things we did talk about in one of our prep calls was platforms, right? And at Cannes, obviously, we've got Meta, we've got TikTok, we've got all the big guys. But I think one of the things in conversations with brands, people are also trying to figure out community-based platforms and smaller platforms. So just curious, also, just to the four of y'all, are there any other places outside from the big guys that you are experimenting with, whether it's Discord, Reddit, places you're finding out about people and their interests, even either of you athletes?
For me, honestly, I'm not really. Really what I've been focusing on the most right now is just my social work. That's really what I focus on. It's true when you're dealing with younger kids, the generation before us definitely used the apps and stuff a lot more than we do, and understand that a little more, so they can connect through Instagram and things like that. But definitely, like, building a basketball league in Chicago where we're working with 28 violence prevention groups and having those groups together, just the way that they connect, I think, is really cool, and social media is definitely a way to do it.
I love that. Anybody else have a note about platforms or places they're really finding a lot of connection with people?
Yeah, I'll chime in. I mean, I'll go to the stable ones in a second, but one of the things we've been experimenting a lot has been Reddit. A lot of pilots there. It's a great platform. There's a lot of conversations that are happening there. It's great to sit down with the Reddit team and talk about, hey, here's my brand safety guidelines, here's where I want my brands to show up, and it's been giving us amazing results. So that's something we leaned in this year, and we're gonna continue to learn about the platform through other brands. The other thing I'll say that it's not necessarily a platform, but it's how do you bring that community to your platforms, right? We just relaunched the McCormick websites in the US, 11 websites into one. It's an amazing experience. I invite you to check mccormick.com. But one of the things you're gonna see at the bottom part of the site is that we've brought the user-generated content into our site with a little connector called Tolstoy. And it's great because we can put there any UGC that's trending, because we know that influencer content is really driving a lot of clicks and a lot of sales. So I recommend you look into that as well. And then for the staple ones, yes, we use Meta, we use TikTok, but I think the key thing there is work with your influencers, work with your creators, and help them A/B test really fast and give them advice on what's working and not, because you have to adapt the content by platform. Don't think that what you're putting on Facebook is the exact same cut for Instagram and the exact same one for TikTok. You've got to adapt it, and sometimes shaving off a couple of seconds on the video is going to drive your engagement up. Sometimes changing the flow of the video through editing will drive your engagement up. So look into that, because that makes a big difference.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that y'all are experimenting on Reddit. That's super cool. Tom, any places y'all are playing?
Yeah, I think, we were talking backstage a little bit, like for McCormick, and you were talking about how effective user-generated content is, which makes perfect sense when you're talking about recipes and cooking and things like that. Look, I think for us, for the scale that we, need to reach with our campaigns, obviously, your Instagrams, TikToks, YouTubes are going to be in the mix. Reddit is a great source of getting at sort of user sentiment on certain things. And then in recent campaigns, we've started to leverage more, lean into even on Amazon reviews. There's obviously quite a few of them. And we found kind of some effective ways to kind of use reviews to mine for obviously product opinions, and then in some cases, campaigns themselves. We, for this past holiday, we did a campaign in partnership with Adam Driver for the holiday, where he ended up reading some of the more quirky and unexpected reviews for things like banana slicers. Who knew that's one of the most popular reviews on Amazon? But to do that, it really becomes about mining the reviews and how you go about doing that in a way to surface the ones that are going to be the most interesting, informative, or in the case of that campaign, going to give you some really entertaining content.
I'll jump in on that one too, because we mine Amazon for insights too, just so you know. We have already models developed that can mine a lot of the data from Amazon, so we understand what searches are trending, because that helps us understand a lot of what's happening with our recipes and our product development. We also do a lot of research on search. Like we always say, clicks is how the consumer communicates. So look where they're clicking, what are they searching for, what's trending. If we see that birria is trending, we will launch a Cholula product with birria as a forefront, because we know that's what people want to eat. If we see that, a most recent trend I saw is that bacon pancakes were trending. It's this whole thing where you cover bacon in pancake batter and fry it. We're building recipes around that, but we move really fast. But that mining of Google search, the mining of what are people searching on Amazon, allows us to really tailor that content to the audience and what they want to see.
That's awesome. Thank you both. All right, so Lauren and Joaquim, I'm going to end with you guys. We just have a few minutes left, but one of the things that's really impacted me from my conversations with both of y'all is, and really all four of you, but is how important it is to do good in the world with the speed at which we're all moving and we're all learning. So what are you, I know it's also that can kind of weigh you down a little bit too. So what are you excited about for the future? What are you looking forward to in terms of what's next? And again, I'm asking Lauren and Joaquim, but Tabitha, Tom, y'all can take that as well.
I think it's a tough question. There's a lot going on in the world right now. We're all aware of what's going on, and everybody's divided in their mindsets. And I think that the more that you can wake up and have purpose and be grateful for what you do, I think we're all very privileged to be able to be here and talk along with each other and network and talk about business. But I think to me, it's if you can wake up with some purpose and build things with some real purpose in your life, and not just saying that, but really feeling that, you realize that we're a lot more similar than different. And that's why I'm really proud of that I can do that.
Lauren?
Yeah, I think, well, first, obviously I have my, last year of college, so I'm just trying to focus on that, and I think just continuing to be honest and be vulnerable and continuing to spread the message that I've been trying to, give other athletes and other girls, little girls that look up to me. But I think, just continuing to grow the game in any way that I can. And obviously I have the draft coming up next year, so that's something that I'm looking forward to. But and until then, thank you.
Yes, Lauren.
But until then, just taking advantage of all these opportunities. And I think, basketball has given me such amazing friendships, relationships, and I've, gotten to come to things like this. This is my first time here, and I'm just super grateful to be here. So just trying to stay present and just be as positive as possible.
Well, I think Tom has one for Lauren.
Yeah, just LA specific, but Lauren's going to be playing with her sister, Sienna, next year at UCLA. Okay. So if you live in LA or you're coming to LA, you want to get to a game and see her play with her sister.
Yes, very excited. We'll see how that goes. It'll be fun on the court, but we'll see behind the scenes.
I don't know. If I played a sport with my sister and lived in the same city, I don't know how that would go. Well, I want to thank you guys. This was super amazing. It was super insightful, and I just always really appreciate the level of humanity that you all bring to this stage and what you put out for all of these people and your hearts that you show. So I want to give you all a round of applause. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having us.